coming in at number 80, we have Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson. And whoa, okay, calm down, Texans fans. I can already see that look in your eyes. You guys got to step outside or take a deep breath or something. So I'll take a deep breath with you if we can all calm down, right? Breathe in. Breathe out. Are we calm now? Are we ready to actually listen and understand what this ranking means? We are? Okay, good. So 80. This is a sham, right? Complete sham. The NFL, their list, they had him at 51 last year, 50 the year before that. How do you have him at 80? Well, here's the thing. Our list, completely different criteria. Not even close. Their list is simply who are the top performers last year. My list is who are the best players at what they do relative to their peers right now, today. And Deshaun Watson, I actually have him as QB7. A list like that NFL one last year, they had him as QB11. So which one is actually more disrespectful to his skill set? Probably theirs. If you have a bone to pick, take it up with them. Because I actually have some serious questions about Deshaun, honestly. And if you do vehemently disagree with this ranking, I'd love to hear you answer this simple question. How did his play improve from 2018 to 2019? Like, on the field, what is he better at now than he was 365 days ago? And I'm being 100% serious with that question because, one thing that I like to talk about is that a player's performance is indicative of some interaction between their talent and their situation, right? Well, Deshaun Watson, as much as we want to rip on Bill O'Brien, his situation in 2019 compared to 2018 was much, much better. So, if you're like, no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. Okay, he had Laramie Tunsil, who is debatably a top 10 offensive tackle. I'd say probably a little bit lower than that, but top 10, sure, based on what they paid for him. You brought in Kenny Stills, you brought in Carlos Hyde, you had Will Fuller. He was healthy for 11 games in 2019. He was healthy for 7 in 2018. How was that situation any worse? It wasn't. But completion percentage down, interception rate up, yards per game down, yards per attempt down, his rushing production down, his sacks way down because that offensive line was better. So what did he do better on the field in 2019 compared to 2018? Serious question that I want you guys to tell me below in the comments. Because, yes, while I think he's QB7, and, where would I have had him 365 days ago? Probably a little bit lower. But here's the thing. Has he moved up because of what he has improved and added to his game? Or has he moved up by default because Tom Brady has started to regress, because Ben's got injured, Cam's got injured, because Phillips getting older? Has he moved up by default? And that's a serious question. So when I'm talking about him relative to quarterbacks, yes, he's number 7. But when I'm talking about him relative to the entire league of players, it's very hard for me to say that he's made any substantial improvements when, even let's just say a guy like Rodney Hudson, for example, right? Center for the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, I guess now. So if he and Watson's talents are pretty close, but the average quarterback is down here and the average center is way down here, who is actually better at what they do compared to their peers? Rodney Hudson. He's going to be higher on this list. So even though Watson's moved up relative to his fellow quarterbacks, has the quarterback position as a whole moved up compared to the other positions? And I think that's an interesting question that you guys probably disagree with, but it's how this list is going to go. And that's why there's going to be guys that you might not be familiar with, whether it's offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and linebackers, anything, safeties that are going to be higher than Watson, even though, of course, in a redraft, he would go top 5, top 7, in my opinion. But in terms of what makes Watson so special, because obviously I still have him at number 80. He's most certainly an elite player. He's in, if you go 2,000 people in the NFL, he's in the top 4%. So how can I justify that spot? First off, it's his athleticism. You want to talk about him relative to his peers at the quarterback position. Very few of them can make this play. You're going to have Watson running a little read option from 25 yards out, and look at how he not only makes a couple guys miss, but then carries 3 guys into the end zone. It's just wildly impressive because he's on the short list of guys who can do that. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, him, and who else? Serious question. I don't have an answer either. Maybe Cam Newton, but after all these injuries, I don't think we want Cam Newton running downfield and making plays like this. So Watson just adds a whole nother dynamic to your offense, which I'm going to have a couple more clips on, but it's wildly important, and it's kind of essential to his success through the air as well. Here's another one, this time it's going to be a drop back pass play. He sees nothing there going through his progressions, and he just has to take off. Well, do I necessarily want my quarterback trying to play Frogger at the end zone? Well, not necessarily, but here's the thing. Watson does, and, as long as it's working for him, I have to give him credit because that's just a beautiful play to really will 6 points on the board for your team. And, again, he's on the short list of guys who can do this. And, I don't even know if Cam's ever been able to do this, if we're being completely honest, because this is like Vince Carter going up for a slam dunk contest dunk. Like he's up in the air, actually almost hurdling a defender, and that's how he's getting 6 points on the board. And that's what's so impressive, because as a defensive coordinator, you can't just game plan for this man's arm talents. You have to really, really focus on what are you going to do about his legs. And I could show you rushing highlights until I'm blue in the face, right? But at the end of the day, that doesn't do any justice to the actual impact of his athleticism, because that is the effect that it has through the air and opening up easier looks for him to toss passes in behind guys that are kind of hesitating and waiting to see, is he going to run or is he going to pass? And that's exactly what you have here against the Broncos. So look at him on this play action pass, how he's going to hit the top of his drop, and then this left guard here, he's allowing some penetration. What does Watson do? He's going to step up in the pocket. Well, what I really want you to see is what do these defenders do as well. So watch here. I'm going to pause it as he steps up in the pocket. What I want you to watch is how little these guys actually move, as they're all just focused in on Watson. They have barely moved at all. They've moved maybe 3-4 yards apiece. Well, who has moved? It's DeAndre Hopkins. And he's going to bang this route in behind them as they're kind of sitting up there waiting to see and diagnose which one is he going to do, throw it or tuck it and run. And that's the real value in Watson's legs, not because 400 yards or 500 yards in a season is going to make or break the Texans' year, but plays like this, 50, 45-yard chunk play touchdowns, these could flip a season. And that's what his legs offer. With a guy like Tom Brady, for example, I'll compare it to an intersection. If you're driving through an intersection, when you see a green light, you're automatically going, right? If this is Tom Brady in the pocket, an absolute statue, you're never even hesitating to look back. You're just going with DeAndre Hopkins. No questions asked, right? Well, with Deshaun Watson, there are questions to be asked. It's more of a yellow light, when you're a couple feet away and you don't know, should you stop or should you go? And that's what it is with defenders. And as a result, they kind of hesitate, just like a lot of people do when they're driving. And as a result, a hesitation in the NFL, that puts 6 points on the board for the offense. And that's kind of what Deshaun's legs provide him the most. It's not that a couple rushing touchdowns and yards a year are going to greatly impact the Texans' seasons. No, it's this that is, because as a defender, you always have to be cognizant of just that fact that, okay, he could bang this ball in behind us, or he could just turn it and run and take off for an easy first down. Which one do I need to stop? In reality, you should be stopping Hopkins, but just that thought of potentially needing to stop Watson, that's enough to get a touchdown on plays like this. Another thing that makes Deshaun so special is his pocket awareness, and that's what I want to show you guys here. When you watch him navigate behind the line of scrimmage, it's often like he has eyes in the back of his head, right? Here he never wavers his eyes from down the field looking at his receivers, but look at how he just senses that pocket collapsing, and he knows it's time to bail on this play, and as a result, spin out, show off that athleticism, and beat Ndamukong Suh to the first down marker on the other side of the field. It's just so impressive because, again, I get it if he's just staring, right at these blitzing defenders, but he's really not. He's keeping his eyes downfield, and he's just feeling it, and that's what's so impressive about it because, again, there's so many guys who can feel it, sure, but then there's even fewer guys who can capitalize on it and turn what was almost certainly going to be a negative play into a positive one, and Deshaun Watson's on that short list. And I kind of referenced it on that last slide, but just Deshaun's ability to keep his eyes downfield and never really get spooked by blitzes is so impressive to me. We have young quarterbacks saying that they're seeing ghosts, cough Sam Darnold, but here's the thing, right? Deshaun Watson, it doesn't matter what he's seeing, he's going to keep those eyes downfield and on a play like this, deliver an absolute dime in the end zone for a touchdown. It's just so impressive how, a lot of young guys here, for example, like Lamar Jackson, you'll see him take off and run this ball immediately as soon as there's any hint of pressure. Well, Deshaun Watson, he's looking to pass first, and then he's going to run second. And that's what you see on plays like this, where he just remains so calm, waits for something to open up, and is able to get a huge touchdown. And here's perhaps an even better example. This time it's going to be Watson going up against the Raiders. And again, what you're going to see is this Raiders four-man pass rush gets the best of the Texans offensive line. So what does Watson do? Well, again, he keeps his eyes downfield. He escapes two defenders, and then he doesn't panic. He keeps looking for somewhere that he can fit the ball. And on this play, he's able to throw a really tight window pass into Darren Fells for the touchdown that ends up working because he wasn't just looking to run. A lot of guys here, as soon as they initially escape that first defender, they're trying to run. And as you saw, he was going to get tackled anyway. Well, instead, he keeps his eyes downfield and finds Darren Fells for 6 points. And I call this next one anticipation because not only does Deshaun do a great job of recognizing the blitz that's coming here and getting rid of the ball on time, but he more importantly is able to diagnose exactly how they're bringing the blitz. He's able to recognize, okay, this is man coverage, this is a cover one shell, even though the Saints are disguising it pre-play, and as a result, he knows that, okay, Kenny Stills is running a deep post from the slot position up here, and it is man coverage, so I'm going to have him open once he makes that break inside. He knows and trusts his receivers to make these plays, and that's why he's able to, even though he has pressure beating down on him, and he's ultimately going to take a huge hit on this play, he's able to throw this ball just as Kenny Stills is starting to break, because he's able to anticipate and trust that he's going to continue to get more separation and ultimately get to the catch point and make a play. And what you're going to have here on this play is the Titans playing some mind games with Deshaun Watson by really moving around their chess piece on their defense, Kevin Byard. And what you're going to see is on this play, he starts off way down here in the slot, kind of hovering around the line of scrimmage. You don't know exactly what they're going to run. They're trying to disguise their coverage, right? Well, the one whose mind games are actually going to work on this play is Deshaun Watson, because what I want you to notice is how Byard is flowing to Watson's right, correct? Well, what you're going to see is how Watson's eyes focused in this direction causes Kevin to hold up, take a step, 2 steps back this way to the offense's left, which is just enough space to where Watson's able to float a ball in over to Kenny Stills back on that right side, a player that Kevin Byard likely would have tried to latch onto if he wasn't looked off by Deshaun's eyes. And that's what we're going to see here. So you can see, let me go back to that. You can see Byard, he's officially hit kind of his line mark. Now look at Watson. See how his eyes are pointed to the left, or at least his helmet is. Obviously you can't see his eyes. But now look at how Kevin reacts. See how Kevin starts to drift to his right or the offense's left. Now look at Watson, knowing what routes he has going on the other side. Now that deep safety's out of position, he's going to perfectly time up and toss a really nice ball into Kenny Stills on the corner route for a really nice play, but a play that wouldn't have happened if he didn't use his eyes to manipulate Byard and really his hips on the play. And here is another very similar play. Actually, this time it's the same players involved. You're going to have Kenny Stills operating from this left slot. You're going to have Kevin Byard, the deep safety, and Deshaun Watson. And what we're going to see here is Stills run a crossing route over the middle, but while Watson is looking to the left towards DeAndre Hopkins, Byard starts to drift that way. And as a result, he's not there to help out and pick up Kenny Stills on this route. And as a result, another touchdown for Stills in the back right of the end zone. And I'll try and slow it down for you here. Look at how he has his shoulders pointed, he has his eyes pointed all towards the left side of the field. And on this play, you happen to have DeAndre Hopkins over there, who is, as we know, a top 5 receiver in the league, no question. As a result, Byard starts drifting. Let me see if I can get that. Byard starts drifting, and now guess what? He comes back because, Hopkins, he's not even close to the end zone on this route. He just seems like a decoy in this instance. As a result, turns his shoulders, turns his hips back, and who's he going to hit? Kenny Stills right here, whose route is going to the end zone and is going to be open enough for the easy 6 points. And, when we talk about what is it going to mean to lose a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, this is the type of play where I think it's going to matter, because maybe Kevin Byard does not start drifting to his right there if that's just Randall Cobb out there. In this upcoming season, it's going to be the Randall Cobbs and Brandon Cooks of the world opposed to DeAndre Hopkins. And that's where I think the difference is going to come, because if maybe Hopkins isn't out there, say Byard stays in the middle, the Texans are short 6 points, at least on this play. And that's the problem with a move like the one Bill O'Brien made, trading for David Johnson and trading away DeAndre Hopkins, because I think it's going to hurt Deshaun in this category. And here's one category that's certainly not hurting with Deshaun. It's his arm strength. And what you're going to see here is him just drop back and deliver an absolute bomb deep to Will Fuller. And this is actually the 4th longest pass in terms of air yards completed in the NFL this past season at 59.4 yards. And, it takes a strong arm to throw the ball basically 60 yards. It also takes a really fast receiver to take the top off the defense and be able to, get enough separation deep on a play like that to make it all work. But that's exactly what Deshaun and Will Fuller are able to do, as essentially he throws it up. Fuller, who, when he releases that ball, Fuller's at their own 40-yard line, and by the time he catches it, he's 20 yards further downfield at the Saints' 40-yard line. So it's just crazy impressive how, again, you see almost the anticipation, you see the arm strength, you see Watson starting to put everything together. And coming off of arm strength, another one of his strengths is just his straight arm accuracy. And that's what you're going to see here, as DeAndre Hopkins is going to run a slant route and, essentially have 2 defenders right in that vicinity. Well, what's Watson going to do? He's still going to throw that ball in the tightest of windows and is able to put it only where Hopkins can really grab it and make a play on it. And is it going to hurt in this area losing Hopkins? for sure. But as long as Watson's able to keep throwing guys open at the rate that he's proven he can over these past 2 years, I think that he'll end up being okay, because I don't want to say that this is a throw that a lot of quarterbacks, can't make. I certainly think most guys in the top 10 could make this throw. But what I like about it is a lot of those guys in the top 10 are, the Matt Ryans, Aaron Rodgers, the Ben Roethlisbergers, these older quarterbacks that, yeah, you would expect Drew Brees to be able to hit this throw. Well, maybe not a third-year guy in Deshaun Watson, but he already is, and hopefully he's only going to improve in the years to come. And while there definitely are quite a few QBs who can make those shorter, tight window throws, there's very few who can just perfectly drop it in the wide receiver's basket 40 yards downfield with as much frequency as Deshaun is. And, last year, 14% of all of his throws were deep attempts, and he had a 92.2 passer rating on those throws, which is just fantastic considering that, for the large majority of quarterbacks, this is where your completion percentage suffers. With Deshaun, he's incredibly efficient on these throws. And look at how, even though DeAndre Carter does not get a bunch of separation on that play, he's able to still just drop it right in the breadbasket and really just deliver a perfectly thrown ball that Levante David had no chance of catching. It's just perfect stuff like that where you start to see the arm strength, you see the anticipation, and obviously you see the accuracy, and it's just all starting to come together for Deshaun here as we're starting to close out this video. And with this last play, you're going to see Watson threading the needle deep to really his favorite downfield target in Will Fuller at the bottom of your screen. And we all know what Fuller brings. He's an elite burner with just perfect top end speed to take the top off the defense at any time, right? And to capitalize and maximize a guy like that, you need a quarterback with a very specific skill set of his own. And that's exactly what Deshaun Watson has. You need a guy who has great anticipation and the perfect combination of arm strength and arm accuracy, and Watson fits that bill perfectly, as you see. Just look at how he's able to drop this ball in there despite being 50-plus yards downfield with ease, right in the breadbasket, as he perfectly anticipates where Fuller is going to be at that catch point. And it's just incredibly special because he's making throws like this on a week-in and week-out basis. As I said, 14% of all his passing attempts are deep throws, and he's incredibly efficient at completing them as well. And that's why I have Deshaun Watson on my list at number 80. And as always, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like, but also, more importantly, leave a comment, especially Texans fans. If you guys didn't have a stroke within the first 2 minutes, tell me, what did you ultimately think of the video, and what do you think of me having him as QB7? I don't want to go into everybody that I have ahead of him. That would spoil the fun of the list, but the problem is that he's only been in the league for 3 years, right? And even though you could argue that, maybe Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, for example, maybe they've regressed a little bit from their peaks, I still think that they're at a higher level right now for a game tomorrow than Deshaun Watson is. And that's what this list is talking about. I'm not projecting towards the future. I'm talking about right now, today, who in an equal situation is going to be the best player. And I think that Watson, amongst all quarterbacks, he's 7. If you think that's disrespectful, I apologize. I really don't think it is. And, I hope you understand where I have him in relation to everybody else as we continue to go on with the series, which hopefully, if you're new to the channel, you'll subscribe for and tune into the rest of. Because, obviously, if you're a Texans fan, you might be put off right now, but you shouldn't be, because every fan base is going to have guys they think are too low. That's just the nature of these lists. I've done 21 videos so far, and I think 14 of them had comments that say too low. Well, the problem is when I said in my introduction video that I thought 196 guys were worthy of being on a list like this, it's hard to make everybody happy and squeeze everybody in when you're about 96 spots short. So that's the problem that I have to deal with on a list like this, and that's why some guys might seem too low to you, but in my eyes are put right in that general area where they belong. But that's all that I have for you guys today. I'll make sure to be back tomorrow with the start of our 70s as we continue to move forward with the list. But until then, I'm mic'd up, and I'm mic'ing out. Peace, guys.